Bless you, darlings. Now, let me see. What was I saying when I left London 16 years ago? Oh, of course, I remember. Make man a double. Oh, how divine to be in London again after all these years. How exciting to return to the scene of my former triumphs. Of course, they're all married now. If they wanted to get married, why didn't they ask me? Why did they have to go to strangers? Well, I still have many old friends here. They've driven me all over Britain. There's Stratford-on-Avon, where Shakespeare's buried, Westminster Abbey, where the famous poets are buried, and here I am this evening at the Palladium, where the American entertainers are buried. And, oh, darlings, I'm too young to die. It's too soon for me to go.
We'll wait.
Isn't he sweet? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. George Sanders. George, darling, I can't begin to tell you how thrilled and pleased I was to hear you had accepted our invitation to appear on the big show from London.
Indeed.
Oh, yes, I've been wanting to talk to you for some time, George, about a play I'd like to do here in London. You and I, you know. Oh, now I know what you're thinking, George. You've been hearing that horrible gossip about me and my temperament. And don't think I don't know who's been spreading it out there in Hollywood. Where that film was made all about me. And after all the nice things I've said about that hag... Well, when I get hold of her, I'll tear out every hair of her moustache. And she was my very dearest friend. It's always your friends. They're the worst of the lot, George. Who was it who said, defend me from my friends, I can take care of my enemies myself? Who was it who said that?
Not I. So far, I've only said indeed.
Well, darling, I want you to consider seriously doing a play with me. We could be a tremendous hit here together. I was here, you know, from 1923 to 1933. 5 of the most glorious years of my life. Oh, George, I'm certain you and I could go on for years to play in London, you and I, Bankhead and Sanders. Or if you insist, we'll be billed alphabetically. Have you ever appeared in a play here in London, George?
Yes.
Oh, of course, darling, I remember. And you were a big success here.
Yes.
And then you went to Hollywood to make pictures.
Yes.
Well, why are you telling me all this?
I'm sorry, I do ramble on, don't I?
George, you're wasting your time in pictures. The theater is the true art. How can you compare Broadway or Piccadilly to Hollywood? Why, whenever I'm in Hollywood, I turn down a dozen propositions.
Any for pictures?
Pictures, indeed. Ah, you belong to the theater, George. Think of the tradition of the London theater and those great British actors. David Garrick, Henry Irving, Danny Kaye.
As a matter of fact, Tallulah, I've been offered a part in a musical comedy on Broadway.
A musical? George, you're in a musical?
Frightening, isn't it?
Well, I mean, after all, George, aren't you a little too, well, how should I say it? I mean, aren't you getting on in, well, that is, well, aren't you a little too, oh, what is the word I'm thinking of?
Old?
Yes, that is. After all, there comes a time in a person's life when he must bow to the inevitable and accept it gracefully. I've seen too many of my dearest friends who are simply disgracing themselves by refusing to face the facts. As for myself, I have always prayed and hoped that I should be brave enough to grow old gracefully and accept it graciously.
And did you? By the way, Tallulah, there's a part in this musical that might interest you. If you care, I might arrange an audition.
Audition, indeed. Nobody auditions Tallulah.
Well, they would want to hear you read, and they can tell you how they want it.
Darling, nobody tells Tallulah.
But it's the only way they can tell if you have the feel for the part.
Darling, nobody feels... less interested in this audition than I. I only auditioned once in my career, and it was a ghastly failure.
What did you do?
I broke off my engagement.
My dear woman, and I use the word in a broad sense. You've been standing here for some minutes now having a delightful monologue, haven't you? And I can't tell you how enchanting it's been appearing on this show with you. I say this without reservation. If I could have got a reservation back to the States, I wouldn't be standing here. I was booked for the show once before, but I was taken critically ill, unfortunately. And while standing here listening to you carry on, I experienced a fond hope that I would die.
What makes you think you haven't, darling?
Because this obviously is not heaven.